What is a digital multimeter? Why do you need one? And more importantly, how do you use it? Well, in short, it's your best friend when diagnosing anything electrically related in your RV. Seriously. If you need to test your battery or an electrical outlet, converter output, solar panel input, water heater element, heck, even checking if your shore power cord is bad, this little tool right here will let you do all of that and then some. So let's get in how to use it for RV purposes. Let's start with DC voltage. A few common things you may need to check when it comes to DC voltage are testing your battery charge level to make sure your battery is good, testing your converter output, or even testing that your tow vehicle is charging your RV battery through the 7-pin connector. Now, to perform any of these tests, you need to set the multimeter to the proper setting, which is the one that says VDC, or it'll be a V with a line over it. Now, some multimeters may have different range options. We want to pick the one that is closest to the DC voltage we'll be working with, which of course is going to be 12 volts. So in my case, we're going to set it right here to this 20. So let's start with checking the battery charge level. To do this, you'll take the positive probe and set it on the positive terminal of the battery, and then of course the negative probe on the negative, like so. For lead acid battery, it should read somewhere between 12.4 and 12.8 volts. Anything below 11.6, we can start causing damage to some of our electrical devices inside the RV. Now, do bear in mind the type of battery, as lithium-ion batteries can reach about 14.1 volts, and lithium iron phosphate can get up to 14.6. Another reason you need to check DC voltage would be to see if your converter is working properly. If 12-volt devices aren't working when you're connected to shore power, then it may not be working right. To check, you first want to disconnect the battery cables from the battery and be sure that your RV is plugged in to an AC source. You'll then place the probes on the disconnected battery cables, aligning the positive probe with the positive cable and the negative probe with the negative cable. Voltage should be between somewhere about 13.5 to 14.5 if it's working properly. If the output is 0.0 and the battery's just not charging, then be sure that the battery disconnect is in the normal use position. Another issue that we commonly hear is the tow vehicle not charging the battery when being towed. If you think you're experiencing this, then you want to make sure your tow vehicle is running and go back around to the 7-pin connector. We first want to verify there is voltage. So on your tow vehicle's plug, put the negative probe into the ground charge lead, should be the bottom left, and the positive probe onto the battery power lead, should be the top right. If there isn't any voltage, then you'll want to check your vehicle's fuses. If there is voltage, then plug the 7-pin connector back in and check the RV battery like I showed you earlier. In this case, however, it should read at or above 12.8 volts DC. Now, what about AC voltage? Well, to set up your multimeter, you'll need to turn the dial to the V with the little wavy line about it, or again, it may say VAC depending on your multimeter. Now, one of the most common AC voltage issues is going to be an electrical outlet not working. Now, keep in mind that unless your RV has an inverter that is connected to the outlet you're testing, then you need to be connected to an AC power source for your outlets to work. So what we're going to want to do is place the negative probe in either the outlet ground or the neutral, and place the positive probe in the hot line, which will be the smaller of the two vertical slots. A good outlet should read right around 120 volts AC. Another great test you can do every time you set up camp is to check the power at the post. And we can perform two quick checks here. One to ensure we have 120 volt output, and another to make sure there isn't a reverse polarity situation. Also, don't forget to turn on the breaker at the post so you can get a good reading. Next, for a 30 amp plug, we need to identify the hot and the neutral. If the ground, which is this little half moon, is installed up, then the slot on the left will be hot. If the ground is installed down, then the slot on the right will be. To perform the test, you want to put one probe into the ground and the other into the hot. You may have to wiggle it a little bit to get an accurate reading. Now, it should read right around 120 volts AC. If it's less than 114 or over 126, you probably shouldn't plug in due to a risk of damaging your appliances. Now, what if you're plugging into 50 amp? Well, I don't have a 50 amp here, but I'll use a dog bone just to kind of show you. It's the same basic principle. What we're going to want to do is take our negative probe here. We will place that in the ground, and then we'll take our positive and put it in either leg. We're going to put it in both, but we want to check them individually. So we'll put it in one, kind of wiggle it around till we get it. There we are. Once we know that one's good, we will switch over to the other one. Perfect. Once we see that one is good, we will then put it in the neutral, and it should read all zeros. And that's that. But as I mentioned earlier, this is a multimeter, and it does more than just measure voltage, like measuring resistance. So when would one need to measure resistance? Well, a big one is testing to see if your electric element on your water heater has gone bad, right? You turn on the water heater using electric and just no hot water. So to test for this, the first thing you want to do is turn off your RV's 120 volt. So in this case, we're just going to unplug from shore power. We're then going to set the multimeter to ohms, which is this little omega or horseshoe looking guy here. Again, we want to set it on the lowest setting possible, which on this one is 200. You want to access the front of the water heater, or depending, it may be in the back of the water heater, but we want to be able to find the heating element. On this particular unit, we can see it is located right here. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and remove those screws. So once we find the heating element, we want to take our probes and we're going to put them on the metal plate right here underneath the screws that are securing that heating element. It should read somewhere between 9.6 and 10 ohms. If it's reading less than 9 or more than 11 ohms, then you have a bad heating element. Another really helpful test we can do is continuity. And this is going to be helpful if, for example, you want to test if your shore power cord is functioning or if it went bad. I don't have a shore power cord, but I do have this 30 to 15 amp dog bone, and it'll work just fine on here. So in order to test for continuity, we want to take our handy dandy multimeter. We're going to set it to ohms, again, on the lowest setting possible. Then we're going to take one of our probes and stick it in the ground. We will take it on the female side, and then we'll take our other probe and attach it to the ground on the male side, and it reads 0.0, just like it should. When I take them back out, it's reading 1. We're then going to do the same thing on both the neutral as well as the hot. And we have continuity. I'm going to guess in all three. Test this last one. There it is. We are good. So as you can see, a multimeter is an important tool in diagnosing any electrical issues, not just in your RV, but honestly in your home as well. If you found this information helpful, be sure to subscribe so you can get more Camping World tutorials.